What's up? My name is Gabby. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be starting on another reading vlog. In this reading vlog, I read 4 different books, and I feel like all 4 of these books are kind of in different genres. I end up reading My Darling Girl by Jennifer McMahon, which this one is a horror book. I also end up reading Shark Heart in this, which I know this says a love story on it, but I don't know if I'd classify this one as romance. I think it reads more like literary fiction. I also read Cleat by Meryl Wilsner, which this one is a new sapphic female-female romance. And then I also read Starling House, which this one is another one that I find hard to categorize when it comes to genre, but it's kind of like a fantasy, gothic, horror, mystery, romance, question mark? Like that's kind of more the genre of this. And so yeah, there's all kinds of things that were read in this video, so let me send you back to about a week ago when I started on the first one. Hello, I just wanted to take the chance to update you because I have started on My Darling Girl by Jennifer McMahon and I have just hit page 98. So I feel like I've made a decent dent in this morning. Earlier today, I wanted to start the vlog because I went to this new spot with my dad for lunch. It's not like a new restaurant in town, but we've just never been there before, and it's this really good like Asian, Japanese kind of spot that was just delicious. I ended up getting this like chicken yakisoba and I got the gyozas. I mainly went for the gyozas because let's be real, those are incredible. And the gyozas were really good. Like I really liked those. The chicken yakisoba was okay. I think I actually like the local spot that I usually go to for chicken yakisoba a little bit better than the one that I had today. But I'm really excited because, you know, ever since coming home from Japan, I've made a list of like 7 different restaurants that either have like ramen or yakisoba that I haven't tried before. Like I live in an area that's really close to a college town where there's like a ton of restaurants down there that I've never really tried. So I have a list of 7 different restaurants that I want to try to go to with my dad, and we're just gonna try all the different ramen spots and then kind of compare. So I'm glad that we finally had the chance to like go to the first spot and get started on that today. That was really fun. And after getting home from lunch, I had some time this afternoon to go ahead and get started on My Darling Girl. You know, I jumped into this book knowing absolutely nothing. Like I don't really know anything premise-wise about this book. I just knew that it was by Jennifer McMahon, who's like one of my favorite horror authors. So I just decided to jump in knowing nothing. But so far, like a lot of other, you know, Jennifer McMahon books, it seems like this story for the most part takes place in Vermont, which is pretty typical for a Jennifer McMahon book. And it also seems like it's going to be following this like mother and daughter storyline, which is also something that I think is pretty common in Jennifer McMahon books. I think that's something that I really usually like about her horror books, is that there's a lot of exploration of like kind of complicated and sometimes toxic mother-daughter relationships. And this one might be the most toxic mother and daughter relationship that I've read from this author yet. Because in this story, we're following this woman named Allie or Allison. She has a husband and kids and they're just living their lives, and she gets a phone call from this guy Paul, who's like her mom's current companion. And he lets her know that her mom has stage 4 cancer and that she doesn't have very long to live. And so they make this arrangement where her mom is going to be living with her, like moving in with her and her children. And the only reason why this is kind of shocking is because she does not have a good relationship with her mom. Like they actually, you know, her and her brother, they had a really difficult childhood and their mom was just kind of awful and toxic. There's like a lot of things mentioned that she did in their childhood. She was very manipulative, very like verbally abusive, and just kind of awful all around. So like the fact that she's going to be, you know, moving into her home to take care of her because, you know, she has stage 4 cancer, she only potentially has a few weeks left to live. And you know, so far I'm only about 100 pages in. I think so far the story's been a little bit slow moving, but I do think that Jennifer McMahon is really good at building some creepy imagery, or she's like setting up a few things that could lead to some really creepy shit, but nothing like super creepy has happened at this point. It's kind of reading more of like a really intense family drama with this mother-daughter relationship, and with, you know, the grandma feeling like her life might be coming to an end soon. It's kind of sad. And in this story, we mostly do just get the daughter, like Allison. We mostly do just get her point of view. One of the first chapters in the book was a chapter that was like 37 years ago or something, and I think that it was told from Allison's point of view when she was a kid. For the most part, we do only get the point of view of Allison in like the present day when she's an adult taking care of her mom. But then we do have a moment where we get like the mom's point of view that's kind of in almost like a diary kind of format where she's like writing to someone. I also do think this is one of those books where right off the bat you get introduced to quite a lot of characters. Like I had to start taking notes because we have Allie as a character, we have Mark, her husband, Izzy and Olivia, her daughters, Paul, Ben, Theo, Moxie, Bobby, Carter. Like there's all these people we're getting introduced to, and so I'm just trying to keep them all straight in my head. I'm just really curious, you know, to see where this story goes. I'm not obsessed with this so far the way that I thought that I might be. I mean, I feel like I've seen this trope a few times where, like, you know, the sick mother moves back in with her kids and then things start to go, you know, not the way that you expected. I feel like this is a trope that I've seen before, and I don't know if it's like one of my favorite tropes. I mean, one of the books that has the same exact trope kind of as this is this one, Nana by Brandon Massey, which this was actually one of our book troop picks earlier this year. And this has a similar trope of like a woman who's like the mother moving in with the family and things go crazy. And so I'm curious to see how this book will compare. Just about 4 o'clock in the afternoon right now. I think me and my sister, we're probably gonna try to figure out what we're gonna do for dinner. And then I think tonight we're probably gonna watch more Big Brother. Big Brother is coming to an end pretty soon. They're already down to the final 5 people. Good morning, it is the next day. I wanted to update you because I am now 222 pages into my Darling Girl. I did end up reading quite a bit of this book last night, but I decided not to finish it. You know what's wild is the fact that I was reading this book pretty late into the night last night, and I didn't really feel scared, not even one time. I feel like this book, you know, it has had a few creepy scenes here and there, but for the most part, I don't really think this book is as scary as it probably could be. But I think part of the reason why I'm not enjoying this one as much as I thought that I would is because it's starting to have one of my least favorite horror tropes, and like I wasn't really anticipating this book going in this direction, but it is, and so I've just kind of like lost interest a little bit in the story. And so like last night, once I realized that that's the direction we were heading, I started to like lose interest, but I'm definitely still going to be finishing the book because I only have 2 hours left of the audiobook. Also, there was something that happened in the plot, and I was like, is this supposed to be a plot twist? Because I guessed that as soon as this character started talking about this thing, I was like, oh, that's what's going on. And then later on in the book, I feel like it was supposed to be a reveal because it like ended the chapter with that information, and usually that's like a sign to me that the author wanted us to be like surprised by that information, but I was not surprised, and I was like, well, duh, like I called that immediately. So like, I don't know, I'm not really as obsessed with this one as I thought that I would be. Like, it is giving like typical Jennifer McMahon writing, at least in terms of like it has really strong characters. The main story is this really toxic mother-daughter relationship that's actually like very hard to read just because it's really sad. But maybe this book is not entertaining me as much as I thought it would because it has a few tropes now that I just don't love. I decided to come to the gym this morning, even though it's raining. Like, it's been pouring rain for the last like 12 hours, but I decided that I wanted to get out and go to the gym. I'm just gonna plan to walk on the treadmill. Like, I was gonna put in my contacts this morning, but my right eye especially has been like bothering me anytime that I put in my contacts, so I decided to give my eyes a break. So I'm just gonna be wearing my glasses at the gym, but I'm just gonna be walking on the treadmill for as long as I can, probably until I finish this audiobook. I'm gonna try to listen to this audiobook while I'm on the treadmill. Oh, what a great day to be a fangirl. Oh my gosh, today I woke up to like the best news. Well, I mean, first of all, Jungkook of BTS, his first solo album called Golden drops tonight, and so that's one of the reasons why today is a great day to be a fangirl, because we get new BTS music. Technically, I mean, it's Jungkook, it's his solo stuff, but like we get a new album tonight. But then today's also a great day to be a fangirl because Taylor Swift just announced more Vancouver Eras tour dates. And like, that's insane because Vancouver is actually really close to me. Like, I'm only an hour away from Vancouver. Vancouver is actually closer to me than Seattle. Like, Seattle's about a 2-hour drive, but Vancouver is only like a 1-hour drive for me. But we registered for Vancouver. We registered on 2 different dates to see if we can get, like, I don't think we're gonna try to go for like, you know, expensive floor seats again, but we really just want to go a second time and just like see the concert again. I mean, the Vancouver dates aren't until next December, so they're like well over a year away. And so I don't know, I'm just it's so exciting. Like, I knew she was gonna come to Vancouver. I knew Taylor would not leave Vancouver off the tour list, and now that we're like living in Washington, it's actually realistic that we could go to Vancouver. So like, how exciting is that? So it's a great day to be a fangirl. I mean, who knows if it'll actually happen and if we can actually get a code and all that, but you know, we'll see. So anyways, I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm going to finish listening to My Darling Girl on audio and do all of the adulting things that I have to do today, and I will come back at you once I've finished it. Hi, I am back from the gym and doing all of the things. I got my little iced coffee and I have finished My Darling Girl. Gosh, you know what's so awkward is when you go to the gym and like almost every single treadmill is taken, so you don't have a choice and you have to go and stand like directly next to other people that are on the treadmills. I don't know why I find it so awkward when you have to like stand next, like directly next to somebody that's on the treadmill. And like, this guy that was next to me on the treadmill was like running for his life, dude. Like, he was fucking, you know, going so hard and he was breathing so hard that I could barely like hear my audiobook over like his like stomping of his feet and his like breathing. I mean, I know it's my fault, you know, because I'm the one listening to an audiobook in a gym where like people are trying to work out, but like it was just really funny. But anyways, I finished My Darling Girl, and sadly, oh my god, you know, I really wanted to love this, I really did, but like towards the end of this book, I just kept finding it so cheesy. Like, it was just so cheesy. I think this is actually one of my least favorite Jennifer McMahon books that I've read, which is such a bummer, you know, because this is an author that I really love and I recommend a lot because I love The Winter People, I love The Drowning Kind, I love so many of her stories. It's just so easy to predict where this story's going because I don't like this horror trope. I know I keep saying that, but I really don't like reading books that involve this in horror. I just find it very cringy and like eye roll worthy. I don't want to say what it is just in case it's a spoiler because I certainly didn't know that this book was going to have that horror trope going into it, so I'm not going to say what it is, but if you are curious, you can look on Goodreads. Like, people are talking about this book and the trope that's in it all over Goodreads. I've seen so many reviews, they're not even tagging it as a spoiler, which I find a little bit surprising because I do think that would be a spoiler to know what this book is about. But I'm just so bummed because if I had known that this book was going to be about that horror trope, I probably wouldn't have even picked this book up, you know? Because I just really don't like that horror trope. I just find it so cringy and kind of dumb, and it's just not my thing. It just sucks, you know, because I do think Jennifer McMahon is a really talented and gifted writer. I think she writes very realistic feeling characters. Like, it's not an issue that I have with the characters because the characters do feel very real to me. It's just the plot itself I just found to be very cringy and just kind of like, ugh. I don't know, I wanted more from this, so I think I might actually give this one 2 stars, which is such a bummer. I think that might be the lowest rating I've ever given to Jennifer McMahon, which is like really sad. I think the plan for now is that I need to shower because I'm disgusting from being at the gym, so I think I'm gonna take a quick shower, and then I think I might get all cozy in my room and try to start on Shark Heart. I also got a new candle recently because Frozen Lake is my favorite scent at Bath & Body Works. Like, it's by far my favorite scent, and I feel like I can't light this candle until like November or December time because the scent of it really gives me like a winter vibe. I don't know why that is. It's probably not even a real thing, but the candle just reminds me of winter, and so I always save it for after Halloween. And so now that it's after Halloween, I'm gonna light my little Frozen Lake candle in my room and get all cozy and hopefully start reading Shark Heart and enjoy that one a lot more than this one. So it is just after 2 o'clock and I just hit part 2 of this book, which puts me all the way at page 185. This book is reading super quick so far because so many of the chapters in this book are just really short, and it's almost written in this way that's like a very poetic style of writing, which I have just been absolutely loving. I mean, I don't know if you can tell from my face, but I've just spent the last like 20 minutes just like kind of crying in my bed while I just finished the rest of part 1 because this book is so powerful. And honestly, like the first part of this book, it kind of read like its own short story or something, because it seems like in part 2 we're gonna be like changing characters, which I'm kind of sad about because I'm so attached to these characters. These first 180 pages, like they could have been a novella, and like if I had to rate this book right now, it would be 5 stars for part 1. Like holy shit. So in part 1 we're following this couple named Lewis and Ren, and it's so interesting because in this world that these characters are living in, it's like a well-known thing that you can get this like illness basically where you start to mutate into an animal of some kind, and it's like a common-ish thing, like say getting cancer or getting any kind of like illness. In this world you can get a illness that's like a mutation that starts turning you into an animal basically. And this guy, right at the beginning of this book, you know, it is very shortly after Lewis and Ren get married. They're both about 35 years old, and he starts experiencing some like weird things that he can't explain medically. For example, he starts to get like really hungry all the time. He always is feeling dehydrated. He's feeling like very tired, and like weird things start happening to his appearance. Like things about him start changing, and so he goes to the doctor and he finds out that he's turning into a great white shark, which I know the premise of this book, like it sounds crazy, right? Like it sounds like it would be insane, but the way that this book is written is very serious, and it's like very beautiful and very sad. And so we're just kind of following this couple as they try to navigate how to move forward with this. And he only has like a year or less before this completely takes him over and he's gonna be a great white shark. Like it's basically a death sentence because he's gonna have to be like in the ocean. It's just really interesting that this is like a common, well, not like a common thing in their world, but like it's something that happens to people, you know? And there's talks about other people with like other animals. It's just very interesting. But the writing in this book is just gorgeous. Like the writing is so freaking beautiful. Just an example of the writing, this is on page 18. It's right at the beginning of the story. Ren is talking about how she misses Texas, and she says she missed the illusion of grass and sky kissing at the end of the world. She missed the evenings most of all, the grapefruit sun hovering above the prairie, dismissing the day with unpredictable strokes of cantaloupe, fuchsia, and violet. And then she's talking about Dallas, and she said the city felt big enough to disappear in, but not big enough to get lost in. The writing itself is just so gorgeous, and I'm also finding Ren to be a very relatable character. I don't know, she seems like one of those people who would just like to plan everything out, and she was never that interested in like marriage or kids. I'm finding a lot of her to be very relatable. Like she says when she was a kid, she wrote her dream is a medium-sized life. She said a life too noticeable might be stolen, and conversely, a wispy existence might blow away or be stepped on, so medium was safe. Her routine was even predictable and managed. She would do almost anything to protect her ordinariness. Like, I just find that to be very relatable. Like, I've always felt the same way where, like, I want a good medium life, you know? I don't know if you can see, but I have been tabbing and annotating the hell out of this book so far because the writing is just absolutely stunning, and I just want to mark up, like, every single page. I did start putting in tabs, like, some of the different colors refer to different things. Like, the lighter ones are for, like, the beautiful quotes and moments and, like, things that I found shocking, and then all of these, like, really dark blue ones are really sad moments or moments where I almost felt myself cry, and some of the blue ones that are a lot closer together down here are the moments where I did start crying. There's even some moments where I had, like, multiple tabs on the same page. Like, there was just so much going on. I also think the romance between these two has been so genuinely cute, and even though they are both very different, they just really complement each other well, and they have so much respect for each other's lives and careers, and they really do seem like best friends. Like, the romance is written so beautifully. I love when he says he was an aimless kite in search of a string to ground him to the world, but instead he'd found Ren, a great strong wind who supported his exploration of the sky. Like, they're so cute. I also really love that Lewis, you know, his character, he's an actor, and I like how a lot of this book is almost written in the style of like a play, because it'll be like part 1, the main characters, and it'll like list out the main characters, and then sometimes there'll be like scenes that happened in the book where you're just reading dialogue being exchanged back and forth, and it's almost written like the screenplay of an actual play or something. But then I also do just love the way that this book is written, because we not only get Ren's point of view, but we do get Lewis's point of view as well. And the audiobook is fantastic, by the way, because it goes back and forth between the narrators of like the husband and the wife. Then I also love that we do get Ren's story in flashbacks from like her childhood and then through like some of her college years. So like these characters feel very fleshed out because we know so much of their history too. Holy shit, I could go on all day. I absolutely loved part 1, like even more than I thought that I would. And I'm scared for where the story will go, because I'm like, will I love these next set of characters the same way as I loved the beginning of this? Because it's crazy, because this book is over 400 pages long, but it's reading so quick, and the audiobook is only 8 hours long, because it's told in such a way that's almost like poetic, and there's very short chapters. So I feel like I'll just be able to fly through this book within the day, hopefully. Hi, I just finished Shark Heart, and like, are you fucking kidding me? I have been struggling to not be emotional. Like, the ending of this book made me cry. I was pretty much crying most of, you know, the last 50 to 100 pages. I mean, there were definitely some parts towards the end that got a little bit weird, but for the most part, it was just so beautiful. So part 2 of the story, I was gonna update you after part 2, but part 2 ended up feeling a lot shorter than I thought it would. And then once we hit part 3 of the book, I was like, oh, you know, the story kind of changed again. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna wait to update you, because this book reads so fast. Like, look at these pages. Like, the chapters are very short, okay? You are flying through the pages. Like, I listened to that entire audiobook within 3 hours because it's very short, but I loved it. I loved it so much. I feel like this book just like destroyed me emotionally. Oh my god, I had a feeling, you know, I had a feeling this book might make me cry, but I didn't think it would make me cry like this much. I didn't think I would get this emotionally invested. You know, earlier I was like saying after part 1, I was like, this could be 5 stars and maybe it'll be in my top 10 of the year. And like, yeah, not only was this an easy 5 stars for me, but it might even be in my top 5 of the year. This is one of the best things that I've read this year. I love this so much. It's strange, you know, because this book, the premise of it sounds very strange and like, what the fuck is that even about? But I think I love it even more because of that. Like, I love a premise that's weird and strange. I've never read anything like this before. Like, a couple we're following who, you know, her husband is turning into a great white shark, and like there's people in this world that have to deal with people in their lives who are slowly turning into to animals. It's just crazy, and I feel like the metaphor that this is about how people change and how we have to grieve the way that people used to be, and how all of it is really like a metaphor for grief just in general, and how relationships fall apart, marriages fall apart, people change. It's just so beautiful and so well done. You know, right after I finished this book, I listened to Say Don't Go by Taylor Swift because I was like, I think the lyrics of this song could really match this, and then I freaking almost sobbed listening to Say Don't Go right after. No, because this month I was planning on doing a little like Patreon exclusive video where I do like a book for every 1989 vault track, because I thought it would be like a fun thing to do, and I was struggling for Say Don't Go. I was like, what book would I choose? But no, this is 100% Say Don't Go by Taylor Swift. The way it's like the waiting is a sadness, fading into madness, oh no, it won't stop. Like, hello, her husband turning into a fucking shark? But I think this story is so beautiful because we not only get, you know, the husband and the wife's story, even though their story is the reason why this book is 5 stars for me, like freaking hands down amazing, 10 out of 10. But then I do love that this story is a story of generations, you know? So it's interesting because in part 2, we do get Ren, we get her mother's perspective from like the 80s. And so part 2 is all about her mother, and then part 3, we kind of get back into, you know, Ren and Lewis's story. But I just love the writing in this book. It was so gorgeously written. Like, this is one of those books that is just so quotable. It's really gonna stick with me over time. I also just liked learning things about this world and how, you know, people are turning into animals, and like with the questions of like, well, what happens to me after I completely turn into the animal, and what they can do for your life after that, and how you have to go about like preparing for these kinds of situations. It's just so fascinating. I feel like this book is weird in the way that I usually love my horror books to feel. Like, it's definitely weird and strange and doesn't really make sense. I mean, don't get me wrong, I would love to read a horror novel that takes place in this universe, because can you imagine the potential? Like, the idea of this universe, I feel like this could be a whole series. It's very interesting to me. But the way this novel specifically describes itself as a sweeping love story that is at once lyrical and funny, airy and visceral, Sharkheart is an unforgettable novel about life's questions, the fragility of memories, and finding joy amidst grief and creating a meaningful life. I am just absolutely floored with how impressed I am with this. I was not thinking that I would love this as much as I did. Like, I even said it was a 5-star prediction, but I wasn't thinking it was gonna be like a top favorite of the year for me. I am also so impressed that this is this author's debut. Like, this is a debut book, which is honestly just totally wild. Like, I will be reading anything that Emily writes in the future. Like, Miss Emily, I got my eyes on you. So yeah, wow, I am surprised that this book isn't getting more hype, at least on booktube, because, you know, I have mentioned that I've seen this book a lot on Instagram. I've seen so many people talking about it on Instagram, but as far as booktube goes, I haven't really seen anybody talking about it. I was actually watching YouTube last night, and Jamie over from Jamie's Library, I was watching her vlog where she just read it, and she's like one of the only booktubers who I've seen read this book, and she also really enjoyed it and gave it 5 stars, so like, But anyways, I would highly recommend, if this sounds at all interesting to you, like if you love stories that are just kind of about life and dealing with grief and the strangeness of, you know, her husband turning into a shark and all of that descriptive detail, it's just very interesting. I would highly recommend checking this out.
Into your eyes, I see we're out of time. I guess no one's to blame, nobody crossed the line.
Hello, it is the next afternoon. It's about 2 o'clock, but I wanted to update you because I have started on the next book for this vlog, which is Cleat Cute. I'm only about 60 pages in, so I don't really have too many thoughts yet. But so far, we're following these 2 female soccer players. One of them, her name is Grace Henderson, and she's 26 years old, but she's been on the women's national team for 10 years already. So she's been on this team since she was 16 years old. And then we're also following this character named Phoebe Matthews and how she's gonna be joining the team. And I guess Phoebe is about 22 years old, but for some reason, so far in this book, she's reading a lot younger to me. And maybe it's because, you know, Phoebe keeps talking about how she's been crushing on Grace for like her whole life. And, you know, it just seems like there's a bigger age gap between these two than there actually is, because like they're only about 4 years apart. But I don't know why, it seems like there's so much bigger of an age gap than that. But so far it's going okay. I mean, I'm not the biggest like stalker fan, but I thought this one looked so cute. I've read a few romances from this author before, and so I really wanted to read this one. I've also seen people comparing this to Ted Lasso, which I freaking love Ted Lasso, even though I'm not the biggest soccer person. But anyways, yeah, last night Jungkook's new album came out. Oh my gosh, it was so good, like even better than I thought it was gonna be. I love the song Standing Next to You. That was like the next single that he came out with, and it has such like Michael Jackson like funk vibes to it. I'm just so obsessed. I think it's so good. And so the album was very exciting and it lived up to all the expectations. This afternoon I just drove down to Bellingham because I'm actually going to be meeting my friend Katie for coffee. I'm excited because we're going to be trying this new place that I've never been to before, and they actually serve both coffee and beer there, so it should be interesting. I don't really know what to expect with this place, but it's in like a really cute area downtown here. That's why I'm on this like really busy road right here. It's the only place I could find parking because of course the parking lot at the actual coffee spot was so freaking tiny and there was only like 6 cars parked in there, and of course I couldn't find parking in there, so I had to park on the street. So yeah, let's go check out this place. Wander Brewing. How cute. You love yours? Yours is pumpkin, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Has little swirls on top.
I know, it's so cute. Thank you so much. Thanks. It already smells so good. Oh my god. Put it in this fancy, like, paper bag. That's new. I am home from going out and getting coffee with my friend Katie. It was so much fun. Coffee place was so freaking cute. Like, it was so colorful on the inside. They had these yellow chairs. It was just so cute. It was such a vibe in there. I ended up getting Panda Express on the way home because I've been craving it so bad, and I am still reading Cleat Cute. I was just listening to the audiobook the whole time and I got about 120 pages into it, so now I have some more thoughts. I'm sad to say that I'm not really enjoying this one as much as I was in the beginning. I mean, not that I was enjoying it like that much in the beginning, but there is actually a soccer player in this book named Gabby, which I just had to mention because I love when that happens, because I feel like I never read about any characters named Gabby. I don't know why. I feel like it's such an uncommon name in books. The chemistry between these characters, in the beginning it was just kind of annoying because the one girl, Phoebe, for some reason she's reading a lot younger than 22 years old to me. Like, she's reading like a freaking teenager in my opinion for some reason. I don't know if it's the audiobook narrator or if it's just like something in my brain is not clicking with this character. And so I found her to be like kind of annoying and like immature, but then it's like, it's annoying because they get into this like banter that's like not really banter. It feels more like middle school flirting where like, you know, Grace will be like getting mad at her for flirting with another girl, and then she'll be like, you're just jealous, and then she's like, oh my god. Like, the banter is just, I don't know, it feels a little childish, I'm not gonna lie. It just feels very young, and then it also just feels like too much too soon because they're already like having sex, and then it becomes a point where it's like every chapter, it's just like every single chapter there's a different sex scene, and I'm just like skimming on the audiobook because I'm like, oh my god, here we go, another sex scene. And I'm just, I don't know, I'm not usually the kind of person that like reads romance books for the smut. I mean, there's no issue with that if you do, but for me personally, I just get bored by like repetitive sex scenes over and over again. I also just think like, you know, every now and then I do enjoy reading about sex scenes, but not ones like this where it's just so repetitive. I think I remember feeling similarly about the other romance book that this author wrote. Like, I don't know why. And it's also just like, I don't want to be reading sex scenes by like the 100 page mark. Like, by the 100 page mark, they should have not even really looked at each other yet. I very much appreciate a slow burn. Like, I don't want them to be having multiple sex scenes this far into the book. It just gets so boring because of that. I think that I'm going to try and finish this up tomorrow. Like, I still do want to finish it. I want to see where the story goes. Hi, it's been more than 24 hours since the last time that I updated this vlog, but I did want to update you because tonight I have finished listening to the audiobook for Cleat Cute. Earlier tonight, I was doing reading sprints with my friend Katie over on Patreon. I usually never do like Patreon reading sprints at nighttime, but I decided for the month of November, I was like, just one of these days, I'm gonna do a late night sprint on like a Saturday because I thought it would be fun, and it ended up being so much fun. I think I'm gonna try to do like late night reading sprints at least once a month on my Patreon because I had so much fun, and hanging out with my friend Katie is always so much fun, even though I didn't end up getting very much reading done, like literally at all during those sprints. I couldn't get my brain to like focus. I just wasn't in the reading mood, so I read most of this book earlier today while I was doing some laptop work, and then I just finished up the audiobook after we got off of sprints. But this book was just so disappointing for me, and And I hate to like come on here and be a downer because it seems like a lot of people are really enjoying this book, and I seem to be in the minority for not really liking it too much. But I don't know why I just couldn't get on board with this romance. You know, maybe I'm just not the target audience for this book because I'm not a huge fan of soccer in the first place, and like sports romances can be very hit or miss for me, especially when the book feels like it involves so much of like the sport, and like there's always games and practices and talking about the sport. I just don't care that much, especially when it's something like soccer that I just don't personally care too much about. Like maybe if it was a sport that I was more interested in, I would like it more. But I don't know, I think my main problem at the end of the day with this romance was these two characters. I just didn't really vibe with either one of them. I didn't really feel the chemistry between them. And there was also unexpected, you know, representation in this book when it comes to these two characters, and I don't know personally if this was good representation or not. I was looking through a lot of Goodreads reviews, and it seems like a lot of people are really torn. Like some people are saying that this is really great representation of what these two characters have, and then some people were saying that it was like horrible representation, and that's why they rated the book low, is because they were so upset about it. And like I don't want to reveal what it is because it's not really talked about until like much later on in the book. But I also feel like, I don't know, because I personally don't identify as what these characters identify as, so like I can't say whether or not it was good representation. But like overall, I just feel very let down by this story, and it sucks because I always get so excited for Meryl Wilsner's new, you know, female romance books, and I always want to read their new books and support these books, but most of the time I'm finding that I'm just disappointed by these romance books. And so going forward, I don't really know if Meryl Wilsner is an author that I'm going to continue to read from, just because I've felt this way about almost every single one of their romance books. And I'm always so excited to give it a try, but then usually by the end of it, I'm always just like, I don't really connect with their characters for some reason. I don't connect with the romance itself and like the writing. I don't know what it is. I feel like sometimes there's just an author that I just don't really vibe with writing wise for whatever reason. Like I can't really pinpoint exactly what my issue is, but I feel like now Meryl Wilsner might be one of those authors, and like that's so unfortunate. But I think tomorrow I might get a head start on Starling House. I think that'll be the last book that I'm going to be reading for this vlog.
As a young girl, the fields were mine. We played hide and seek for hours, raised our shadows among the pines. So offshore, playful.
Hello, good morning, happy Sunday. I wanted to give you an update because I have started on Starling House. I just decided to drive down to Bellingham this morning because I woke up this morning and I was like, I really want an acai bowl. And so I came down to Robex and I got an acai bowl, and it was freaking delicious. Even though it was like it's a little bit cold outside right now, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it's about like 55 degrees, but like to eat a cold, like almost like frozen breakfast right now in my car, I'm like shivering. So I decided to eat it in my car instead of like, you know, I usually drive around down here and I find a little like park area to eat outside, but it was a little bit too cold for that, so I ate in my car. But anyways, I have started on Starling House. I'm only about like 45 pages in right now, so I feel like I've barely just made a dent, but so far I'm already enjoying the setup for this story. We're following this main protagonist, and her name is Opal, and she has this younger brother named Jasper, and she's just been kind of having a rough time, you know, growing up as an orphan. There's this really like popular, well-known author, and her name was Starling, and she disappeared like over 100 years ago, and the only thing she really left behind was this house that's called Starling House. And so our protagonist is really obsessed with the book that this author wrote, and so she wants the opportunity to try to learn more about all of these things, and so she literally goes to Starling House, and the guy who's living there, his name is Arthur, and I'm pretty sure he's like the son of the woman who went missing. I don't know, it says his name is Arthur Starling, so like I think he's related, but he's the only one living there, and he offers her a job, so she's gonna be like working in Starling House. And it seems like it's really setting up a good atmosphere of like a gothic kind of creepy haunted house. Like I don't really know what to expect with this, but so far the atmosphere has been really great. Like I love the setup of it. I'm really liking the characters and the writing style already. So today I drove down here because I think I'm gonna be trying to film a read with me video for my Patreon. So I thought it would be nice to, you know, come down to this area where it's like kind of a nice outdoors area and try to like film myself reading for an hour in the park out here.
And you ever wonder
If days like these last with one another, with the feeling pass, would you find out with me?
Just after 12 and I am still reading Starling House. I was sitting outside for almost an hour reading this and it was so freaking windy and so cold. Like it was so much colder than I thought it was gonna be sitting out there. And so I was kind of like freezing my little butt off. But anyways, I got 130 pages into it while I was sitting out there. You know, on the drive home, I decided to stop by Starbucks because I'm not usually a hot coffee drinker. I am much more oftentimes an iced coffee girly. Like I just really like the iced coffee. But I was so cold. Like I was so cold after sitting in that park. I like came back into my car and I was like shivering. And then I decided that because Starbucks just recently got their, you know, holiday drinks, the chestnut praline latte is like one of my favorite hot coffee drinks of all time. And so I thought I would have the first one of the season today. I think the chestnut praline latte is still my #1 favorite of the holiday drinks, but also the caramel brulee latte, that one is also freaking top tier. It feels so freaking hot, like I'm gonna burn my whole face off. Oh my god, it's definitely like really hot, but it's so good. It's so good. 130 pages into this now. I'm having mixed feelings about this book overall. I don't know, the writing style, I love the writing style in some parts, and then some of the times I think the writing style annoys me a little bit. A lot of moments in this book where there's footnotes, like a character will mention something and then it'll go into this like footnote tangent about something about the history, and I don't love that. Like I don't know, I feel like sometimes when books include footnotes like that, it either works for me or it really doesn't. And so far the footnotes have just been okay. Like I haven't really found that they've been adding a whole lot to the story for me. Like I don't know if they're totally needed. I did put a dog ear on this page because there was this quote that I just thought was so beautiful where she says, "Home is just wherever you get stuck." And I was like, damn, is that facts? Like that's kind of deep. I also had to dog ear this one page that was kind of talking about Starling House, and it was kind of describing the like creepy haunted elements of it. I just like the way she says it, because she says, "Good luck went bad and sweet dreams were spoiled. It's the way Starling House crouches just out of sight, watching us all. It's the way the fog still rises on chill and rotten nights. Some people think it's just weather, but my granddaddy always said it was her, Eleanor Starling, whittled down to nothing but malice and mist, still thirsty for gravely blood, haunting the town that still hates her." Oh, like the writing in this is pretty great. Like the writing itself is very like atmospheric. It's very like whimsical. I also love the design of this book. Like whoever designed the layout of this book like needs a raise, because look at how beautiful this shit is. Like I don't know if you can tell, there's like these borders around every page that I just think are really nice. And then on every like new chapter page, it's like indented, like there's like margins on the side, which I think look really beautiful. And then on the next page it'll just go to be like normal, but on every chapter like front page it's like indented like this, and I just think it looks so beautiful and so aesthetically pleasing. I'm also really liking this book for the characters. Like I already do feel very connected to Opal as a protagonist, and I already care a lot about her situation and, you know, how she's taking care of her brother Jasper and how she's feeling like there's a lot on her shoulders when it comes to, you know, taking care of him and providing for him. I also really actually do like Arthur as another character who is kind of her boss, I guess, in this book. You know, like he's the one who lives at the house, and she gets hired on as like, you know, she's kind of like a maid, like she's like a cleaning service, like she comes and cleans his house. But he's actually like a pretty interesting character, and I can't tell for the life of me if there's supposed to be like some kind of romance brewing between them or not. Like I don't know if that's where we're heading, and I really don't know how I would feel about if they had like some kind of romantic connection. Like I don't know how I'd feel about that at this point. Like I don't know, it's going all right so far. I'm not obsessed, but I'm not hating it either. Oh my gosh, I just had to update again really quick because I just got home, and on the drive home I just listened to like another chapter or two. I feel stupid because on Goodreads I just looked up the genres for this, and the genres are actually fantasy, horror, gothic, romance. And so like romance is literally one of the genres listed on Goodreads, which I don't know why I didn't even notice that. But honestly, like I'm not mad about it. Like the romance is starting to romance, and I'm like, oh, cool, okay, like I'm not mad about it. So I literally just got home. I just finished reheating up my coffee. My coffee got cold because I called my mom right when I got home, and then I was talking to my mom for like 20 minutes, and so my coffee got cold. But I heated it back up and I'm ready to jump back in, and like I'm gonna try to finish as much as I can of this afternoon.
Hey, darling, can I tell you what's been on my mind? Sick and tired of the 9 to 5 in the city life. Hey, darling, we could get out of town, see the beautiful world around, wanna see it now. Pack our bags and get in that car.
Right, Ty, it's almost 4 o'clock in the afternoon and the sun is literally, it's already starting to go down. Like, it's getting dark. And so I came into the office to film this update, and I'm sitting at my sister's desk because this is like one of the only good spots in this apartment that still gets some natural lighting. But anyways, I wanted to update you that I just finished reading Starling House. I don't know how I was somehow able to finish this all within the day, even though the audiobook was quite long. It was like 12 hours. I mean, I was listening to it at a pretty, you know, high speed, but still 12 hours for this audiobook. It's crazy because the book isn't even that long itself. The book is only about 306 pages. This book doesn't need to be as long as it is. Like, there were definitely some slower moments with the pacing where I was just like, can things get interesting? Like, I am so bored. I feel like there was just a lot of this book with the pacing, especially as we got towards the end. I don't know why the pacing just bothered me so much. There would be so many moments in this book where we would just get these little parts that would be kind of like an info dump about like Starling House or about the characters, and I just didn't really care for them. It would just do this thing where it says, this is the truth about Starling House, and then we would get like sometimes a few pages of just like text about Starling House, and I was just like, dude, I don't care. I also think as the story continued, it definitely started to feel a lot more fantasy towards the end of this book, which, you know, fantasy is just not my genre. I just don't tend to care as much. And even though there were some, you know, like kind of gothic horror elements to this story, I still struggled to care. It's another thing that I saw, you know, I was reading some reviews on Goodreads right after I finished this, and there seems to be so many people like discussing how, like, what even is the genre of this book? Because there's so many people that are saying this should not be categorized as horror, like, at all, because it really doesn't feel like a horror book, and I would definitely agree with that. It's definitely leaning more towards kind of like fantasy, magical, like there's mystery, there's romance. It's definitely more that vibe. Like, I really wouldn't think that this is horror at all. And I feel like that's kind of a bummer because I do think I would have enjoyed this more if the author really leaned into the horror on some scenes. I feel like some of the scenes could have really benefited from leaning more into that horror feel, but it never quite went there for me. It was all just kind of very like surface level. I also saw somebody say on Goodreads that this book is like an adulted young adult book, and I was like, I don't know what that means, but I get what they're trying to say, because I don't know why some parts of this book just read like a young adult book to me, and I see some people being like, I was tricked into reading a young adult book. Maybe it's because this is like outside of my usual, you know, genre, so maybe take my review with a grain of salt. If you're interested in this and you read this genre often, maybe you would love it. I don't know, but for me, there was something about the writing that did feel a little bit young adult at times, and I think it was mostly to do with the romance elements in this book that reminded me of young adult books. I just struggle with my rating for this book because it's not poorly written. You know, like, I do think the book is really well written, even though I have some issues with the pacing. It's like I have equal critiques and positive things to say about the writing, because the pacing really bothered me. It was really slow at parts, but then also the writing itself most of the time was like really atmospheric and really beautiful. And I did care about the characters for the most part, but honestly, the romance, I don't know, I cared a little bit at the beginning when there was just like tension, but then after things actually started happening, like the progression of the romance was just way too fast for me, and I just did not care for it anymore. But I did like the general story of, like, you know, the sister trying to protect her brother. Like, I do like that kind of trope where it's like a character's feeling like they need to be the provider for their family and they need to take care of their own. You know, like, I do tend to like that in books. I also did like that there were some drawings included throughout the book. I think the design of this book, you know, as I said, the design is stunning and they really just put in the extra details. But I think ratings wise, I think I'm gonna give this around a 3-star because I am so torn on some things. I didn't strongly dislike it, but I didn't love it either. I'm just feeling very in the middle here. And so that's kind of a bummer because with this gorgeous, beautiful cover, I was hoping to love this, even though it is outside of my usual genre, and this is usually always what happens when I read outside of my norm. So maybe I should have known. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this vlog. If you've read any of these books, I would love to know what your thoughts are on them. I mean, I'm so glad that I read the book Shark Heart for this video and that I vlogged all of my reactions and feelings with that book, because that book was incredible. I've been debating like this whole week. I'm like, is it in my top 3 books of the year? Like, did I love it that much? Like, is it my favorite book that I read this year? Like, I have some things to think about with Shark Heart because I've been thinking about it almost every day since finishing it. And so I'm very glad that I at least had that experience during this vlog, because I feel like everything else was a little bit of a bummer. Always worth it for when I find books like Shark Heart. Like, that's what makes reading so great for me. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on these books if you've read them, and I will see you very soon with another video. Bye.